So I'm going to be answering part 1 of my evaluation, and the question is, in what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? So to start with, at the beginning of the year, I'd done some research into some authentic short films that were of my genre that I was thinking of doing, and I've analysed 4 of them, which you can see further down on my blog. I'm going to talk about 2 in particular that probably influenced me the most, and those 2 were Identity and The Long Distance Relationship. I quite liked Identity because it kind of it keeps the audience guessing all the way through, so it's like you don't know what's going to happen next, like you're constantly thinking like where's it going, what's going to happen, and it's quite like a normal setting, like she's at school, so it's quite like a nice familiar environment for her, but yet she's still having troubles. I stuck to these conventions when I was doing mine, I found them quite interesting. With The Long Distance Relationship, I really liked how they told the story mainly through music, and really let you connect emotionally with the character, you really felt for him and stuff like that. It did have a bit of diegetic sounding, which I've also stuck to. I've kept my diegetic sound at the start of my film, and then I let the music tell the story throughout the rest. So in the terms of looking at authentic short films that have been successful and the conventions that they've used, I've stuck quite closely with them. When it comes to theories, I look particularly at character theory, and character theory kind of states there's a princess of the film which needs saving by the hero. I didn't really stick to this convention. I have a princess of the film, which is Imogen, and she's going through a hard time, she needs saving, but there is no hero. If there was a hero, it would be Mason, and she really wants Mason to save her. She wants Mason to come back to her, but he doesn't, which breaks the convention of character theory. I do think that the approach that I've had to this it is unconventional, but I think it's modern. In today's society, women are quite powerful, they don't need someone to save them, and I do think that it helps the target audience feel more connected to Imogen, because there's a lot of teenage girls out there that have went through breakups and they haven't had anyone help them through it. They haven't had the hero come in to save the day. So in this way, I do think that breaking this convention worked really well for my film. In my personal opinion, I think that the character theory is a bit outdated. It is used quite often in the film industry, but I personally think that films would be more successful with female audiences if women weren't made out to be the weaker sex in them. They can be also powerful. In the terms of narrative theory, this theory states that there's always an equilibrium, which is normal day-to-day life, a disequilibrium, which is when the problem occurs, and then there's the recognition of disruption, which is recognizing the problem, how am I going to fix it, attempt to come to a solution, which is actually doing something to try and fix the to try and fix the problem, and then equilibrium, which is when life goes back to normal. So in some ways I have stuck to this convention. I do have an equilibrium. That's right at the start of the film when Imogen's sitting on her bed doing her college work, she's getting on with day-to-day life, then she gets a text from Mason breaking up with her. This is the disequilibrium. Problems occurred, she's lost the love of her life. And then the recognition of disruption, this is where Imogen, she realises what she's lost. She's going out, she's reliving all of the memories they had together, all of the good times. She's going to the places they went on dates. She's trying to get over him, but she finds it extremely hard. She is trying, so I've stuck to the convention there as well. Where I broke this convention is an attempt to compose a solution. She doesn't actually fix the problem. She finds out from one of her friends that Mason's seen someone else, and it breaks her heart. She doesn't know what to do. She doesn't think she can live without him, so she ends up ending her own life, which goes completely against love story conventions, especially narrative theory, because life doesn't go back to normal. There's no happily ever after. There's nothing. That's the end. In terms of edits, I've used something that's quite common in the film industry with black and white flashbacks. It's within the film industry, they tend to use black and white flashbacks to show a change of time, going back in time, which I've used, and I think that this was quite successful. It was quite, it worked really well. In terms of my film poster, I've stuck quite closely to typical conventions. So to start with, I researched 3 different posters. The Backup Plan, Dear John, and another one I can't quite remember the name of. These 3 posters, they all tend to use white backgrounds, and they had a main image, just one main image on the front, which was always a male and female. So in this way, I've broke this convention for my film poster, because I believed it would work better if it was just of Imogen on its own. So as the film shows mainly Imogen walking around, going to different locations, I thought taking an image where the camera's quite far away from Imogen, she's walking in the distance, it's a long shot, it works quite well. I have stuck to other conventions that these posters have used. I've got a catchy tagline on it, I've got the main actors' names at the top of the poster. The reason why I didn't stick with a male and a female again is because it kind of links in with the narrative, the character theory. There is no hero of the story, there is no happily ever after, and I feel like having a male and female on the poster might suggest that, where my film doesn't follow that structure. So overall, I do think that my film poster follows typical conventions to a certain extent, and then it kind of I wanted to do my own thing. I thought, especially with the picture, it's quite uncommon. She's kind of in the pose, she's fading away, and I've used Photoshop. I've adjusted the different settings of the picture to make this happen, and I've done this so that it looks like at the end of the film, Imogen takes a life. So in a way, the poster's reflecting this, and she's fading away, she's going somewhere else, she's leaving the earth. So it is quite unconventional, but I do think it works for my film. In terms of my review, all of the reviews that I've done research into tend to have one main image that looks like it came from the movie. It's obviously took with a still camera at the same location, but it does look like it's a screenshot from the movie. I thought that was quite effective, so I've also done that. I made sure that I took the picture on the same day, so I've stuck to conventions there. The credits generally has the starring actors, the director, and the release date. I've also stuck to this. That's in a smaller font under the title, because in most of the reviews I looked at, the biggest font is the movie title, and this is to draw in the audience. So I stuck with that because I wanted to look as realistic as possible, and I want to draw my audience in. They tend to have white backgrounds, columns, black writing. I did go for more of a navy colour for my writing, but that was just because I didn't like the contrast between the black and the white. I thought it was a bit too harsh. I don't think it looked as professional, so I went with navy. But I did stick really closely to my style model for this one, which was an article out of Little White Lies, and I followed it really closely. So in this instant, I did stick to conventions. So I'd say overall, for my short film, I stuck to conventions to some extent, but kind of done my own thing. Thought it will also work. I've seen a couple of films that have done stuff like I have, and it was really effective. They've been successful films. For my film poster, I did mainly stick to conventions apart from the image, but that did work really well with my film. It linked the two really well. And for my review, I completely stuck to conventions, and yeah, it worked really well.